Love me tender, love me sweet.
Tonight, I'm not singing, no stage, no lights, just me, sitting alone in a room so quiet, I can hear my own heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, I hear you. Danny, you're no longer in this world. I know that. I heard the news from your mother, Margaret. Her voice cracked like dry wood breaking under pressure, but she still held herself together long enough to tell me you were gone. Peacefully, gently, but far too soon. I'm sitting here, surrounded by walls covered in gold records, portraits, trophies, but none of it means a damn thing right now. I'm only thinking about you. I'm writing this letter not for the papers, not for the fans. I'm writing it for you. Maybe you won't hear it. Or maybe you already are. From someplace far away, or maybe somehow close by. You know, I've written hundreds of songs, stood before millions. They called me the King. But that night, when you looked at me with those little eyes trembling, tired, but shining, I wasn't Elvis Presley anymore. I was just a man being handed someone's final, precious breath, just to sing one song. You smiled. You sang along. You placed your cap on my head and whispered, "So, you'll remember me." Danny, I've never forgotten. I've never taken that cap off my nightstand. Not once. Through hotel rooms, cities, concert halls, it's always been there. And tonight, when I learned you were gone, I didn't reach for my mic, didn't turn on the record player. I just reached for a pen and started writing to you as a friend, as a father. I don't think I've ever written anything in my life that mattered more than this. Danny, I still remember every little detail of that night like it happened just last evening. There was a moment when I was sitting at the piano, my fingers gently resting on the ivory keys. The lights had dimmed, the air softened, and I looked over at you. You didn't say anything. You just looked up at me. Your eyes were tired, so tired, but in them there was a kind of light, faint, yet somehow brighter than every stage spotlight I'd ever stood under. And then you smiled. It was slow, exhausted, but real. A smile. I knew you had saved your very last bit of strength for that exact moment, not to ask for anything, not in search of miracles, but to say, in your own quiet way, "I'm okay now." I've stood before thousands of faces, heard crowds scream my name, felt the hands of strangers reaching for me night after night, but only one smile made me want to stop everything. Not sing, not perform, just hold you, keep you near. One more song, one more minute, one more glimpse of that beautiful, fragile smile. When you placed your cap on my head, I wanted to say something, a promise, a thank you, but my throat tightened, and all I could do was bow my head and let the tears fall silently. If you're reading this somehow from somewhere high above, I just want you to know that moment you smiled was the most real moment of my life. Danny, you were in my life for just a few hours, but you left a mark that 20 years of fame, flashing lights, and standing ovations never came close to leaving. They called me the King, the man with millions of fans, fancy cars, big houses, success, and spotlight. But only you, a 7-year-old boy. No hair, no strength, no expectations made me fall silent. Silent to see, silent to listen. And for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't the center anymore. You were the spotlight. After that night, everything changed. I still toured, still sung, But every time I stood before a crowd of thousands, I didn't look for the cameras anymore. I searched for eyes like yours, the quiet ones, the lonely ones, the ones needing to be seen. I started singing slower, pausing during sets to hand a child my scarf. Once, I walked to the back row, lifted a child in a wheelchair onto the stage, and sang beside him. No warning, no script. Some said it was PR, a publicity stunt, but they didn't know I was just chasing a feeling I once had. When I held you, I never spoke about it publicly. I'm not the kind of man who opens up easily, but in this letter, I want to say it clearly. You did what no award, no hit song ever did. You made me feel like a human being again. Danny, there's one thing I've carried with me ever since, like a scar on my heart. It's that I never made it to the hospital, like I promised I would. After that show, I told your mama, tomorrow, I'll visit Danny, and I truly meant it. But then, the flights, the meetings, the people around me pulling me in every direction, pushing for schedules, for the next venue, for the label's demands, and me, even as Elvis Presley, I let myself get swept away by everyone else's plans. I didn't go, and by the time I realized, you were gone. I had made crowds wait for hours, but I let a 7-year-old boy wait for me in a white hospital room and wait forever. That guilt followed me on every stage after. Every time I stood under the lights and looked into the shadows of the front rows, I imagined your face still sitting there, still waiting. So I started singing as if you were listening, every night, not to make up for anything, but because, in my heart, you never really left. Danny, did you know I used to be afraid of death? Not my own, but the feeling of watching someone you love leave and being powerless to stop it. Then you came along, and somehow, in just a few short hours, you made me realize not everyone who leaves is truly gone. Some people, even after they go, stay forever in the hearts of those who loved them enough. You left, but I kept singing for you, still wearing the cap you gave me, still looking toward the third row every night. That cap still sits on my bedside table, not out of sorrow, but as a reminder. There was once a little boy who trusted me enough to give me the last moments of his life, just to hear me sing. I don't know when I'll go. Maybe in years, maybe months, maybe tomorrow. But if you're still listening from wherever you are, I want you to know, then and even now, you are the most beautiful song of my life. Goodbye, Danny. But really, it's never goodbye, because your voice from that night still plays in my sleep, like a melody that never fades. Danny, I've stood before thousands bright lights, cameras, thunderous applause. They call that the peak, but only you showed me a different kind of peak, the peak of emotion, where a song isn't meant to be celebrated but to cradle a soul on the edge of goodbye. That night, I learned something no career ever taught me. Music isn't sound. Music is memory. A hug at the right time. A promise we never got to keep. A final smile we carry for the rest of our lives. You gave me something no one else ever did, a lesson in unconditional love. A memory that lives on in every concert I've played since. And I believe you're still out there. Every time my hands shake on the keys, every time I hold back tears in the chorus, you're still listening. Tonight, I'm about to step back on stage. And you know what? In the third row, center seat, there's always one spot left empty, just for you. No one sees it. No one sits there. But I know you're still there quietly, like a note that never goes off key,